Holy shit.
That is actually in the Urban Dictionary. When you Google
I'm going to
PipeMan.
get so much shit for that. I'm actually kind of sad you said that. I'm going to get so much shit for that.
Alright, so today's guest is a popular Battlerite streamer, a tournament organizer actually, and all in all a well-known figure in the Battlerite community. Welcome to PipeMan.
Hello.
How do you do, man?
Welcome to me. I'm doing pretty good. How about you, dude?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. So you are what we would call a high elo player, right?
Yeah.
And as far as I know, an IVA main.
Yes, I've played just on my main account, PipeMan, 1,800 games on IVA, and then I tried not to on my Smurfs. But yeah, just about like a little bit under 2K games.
All right. So I thought we'd just start there. Let's talk a little bit about IVA. Why do you like her so much?
So, you know, when I first started playing the game, I played when the game was pay to play. So you had to pay like the amount, like $20 or whatever. And that was when you had to pick each Battlerite individually.
Yeah.
And I didn't play anyone else besides like Esmo. And I was like, sure, this is fun. And then I quit for a long time. And then when I came back in season 1 of last year in March, I was like, okay, sure, I'll just play Iva because I had like a couple good times. I remember back then she had 3 charges of her M1 that you could use, and then it was 2. And I was like, okay. So then I just started playing her because she's really like aggressive. So the way that I play Iva isn't like supporty like most other people play her, but I played the shit out of her because she was just so aggressive, nonstop. You can just keep going in, and that's just all you do. That's the way I like to play her, and I think that really fits like my playstyle in general. When I played League of Legends, I played only like really aggro champs, like just nonstop fighting, like Udyr and stuff. So I was like, sure, worked for me, and I think I just stuck on her, and I really wanted to one trick just so I could kind of learn the game instead of like having to switch between all the other champions because they all played so different. So I played her just because she's like crazy. She's nutty.
All right. Well, that is interesting because, like you said, the I think the go-to association to Iva is more of, you know, supportive ranged characters.
Yeah.
So, as a very knowledgeable Iva player, then, who would you say is the best Iva in the world? Do you have an opinion there?
So there's a lot of controversy just because I talk about it on my stream all the time. I don't think I'm the best Iva player in the world. I think that's a bold statement and it's wrong. I think I'm the best solo queue NA Iva player. I think it's very narrow, and it's like, okay, sure, fair, because I'm the only one who's gotten GC on Iva twice, only playing Iva solo queue. I think my name is Keith. He has a really good Iva. He actually plays her to her strengths, is playing her as a support. And then, you know, according to like the website, there's another guy named Chosan, and he's in my stream all the time. He's got like 8K Iva games, and I'm just like, what the hell? Like, how do you play that many fucking games, dude? First of all,
Yeah.
so I don't know who the actual like mechanically or like skill-based person is who can play that champion at their best level, because no one actually really plays her except to fill a support role, kind of. So honestly, for what I know, I think the best NA player will probably be My Name is Keith, and he's actually got like a really good win rate on Iva, knows her really, really well. But I would say like for just solo queue, it would most likely be me because I don't see anyone else playing her just by default.
All right. So,
And I don't know anything about EU, so they don't. I don't watch anyone play because they're all streaming and I don't see them.
considering that, though, that you're one of the few who have hit such a high elo playing only Iva, and that you kind of play Iva like many people don't, is she a champion that you would recommend for someone coming into the game if you want to pick up the game, learn the game, and climb the ranks?
I actually think, yeah, that's a really good question. I think she's very like user friendly. Like all of her stuff makes a lot of sense on the surface. You know, you got champions like Rukon, where you need to have a lot of mechanical prowess on like how to play him, because you can't hit counters and stuff like that, and your pull basically just guarantees someone popping their counter and you can't hit it. Where I think Iva's very forgiving. She has a shield that lets her move very quickly, and her space is like a really long iframe, and her oil slows down opponents, and then her flamethrower does 50 damage for God knows what reason. So, you know, I think she's probably one of the easiest champions to learn because she's the most forgiving and she does the most damage with little punish. I think just pretty much after her space, she can get punished. But in low-level play, I think Iva's a great first champion to learn on. Other, I'd be like Jade, because she's also very forgiving.
All right. And should we just, for the record here, we've already talked about this on your stream, but just for all players who see this and think, hey, I should pick up this Iva thing. U-turn, yes or no?
Okay. So, low elo play, U-turn is great because, you know, in low elo, it's not only a mind game for them, it's a mind game for you. And a lot of times in lower level play, like silver, gold, even high, like low platinum, you can get away with pulling off U-turn because they're going to try and all in you after your space. It's like, oh, it's her first space. And not everyone looks at the opponent's battle rights, so they might not even see that you picked up U-turn until the first time you prank them, and that might win you a round. So I think U-turn in general is a bad right, because when you actually get up to the higher level play, you space once and they see you have U-turn, they're not going to do anything. They're going to like tickle poke you until you basically space again. And that's another entire second for like a Rukon to charge an M2 to guarantee hit you from your space, or a guaranteed pull, or a guaranteed Ulrich space. And it's like, you're basically baiting yourself to get punished. And it's just so bad. You can pick up the haste space where you get faster movement speed, or you can pick up a rocket right or something instead. I just think U-turn is really, really bad. If they sped up her animation for her space, or if they made you kind of do like an Alicia second recast jump where you kind of pick a second spot kind of, then that might be viable. But right now it's too easy to get punished. Low elo, it's great. Hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the fact that you just returned to where you started, maybe like you could do like a shorter second jump or something to not make it as good. But I mean, I play in like low plat right now. And I love players who pick U-turn on Iva. That's like, okay, I know exactly what I'm going to do because I know exactly what you're going to do. I know where you're going to be.
It's so sad, dude.
Yeah.
It's so true.
All right. I'm curious about your name, PipeMan. I did a quick Google just on your name, PipeMan, because who knows what you might find on Google. And I ended up in Urban Dictionary. And I found two definitions of PipeMan. One is, you know, the firefighter. There's the guys who drive the trucks, according to Urban Dictionary. I don't know if this is true. And then there's all the pipemen who go in like the hose guys, you know, and actually fight the fire.
Okay.
I don't know if this is true at all, but I found another definition. And this one is weirder. Pipeman, parentheses, smokes a large pipe, is a dirt-ass pipe of white trash who hangs around town and sleeps outside of the Save-A-Lot Quickie Mart. My friends and I have begun to associate anything dirty, shitty, rotten, and filthy with Pipeman. Holy shit, dude, it looks like a Pipeman lived here. Oh wait, he doesn't. He doesn't have a home. By Jeff, April 2004.
Holy shit, dude.
That is actually in the Urban Dictionary. When you Google
I'm going to get so much shit for that. I'm actually kind of sad you said that. I'm going to get so much shit for that. No, that is not my name is Pipeman.
Okay.
Unfortunately, now it is, because everyone's going to think that.
Thank you, Jeff, 2004.
Yeah, fuck you, Jeff, 2004. Where it really came about, I was playing Jackbox with my friends, and this was a couple years ago. And before that, I went by Bill Cosby's Pudding Slave. That was my name on everything. Because before he was making pudding slaves, I was like 10. And actually, I had that name since I've been 10 years old. Bill Cosby's Pudding Slave, if you kind of get a grasp of where I come from. So I've always been that. And then one day I was playing Jackbox Party Pack on PC with my friends. And we were doing one that's called Drawful. It's kind of like the game of telephone where like someone like types out something. And then another person has to draw that situation. And then another person has to describe what that is. And it's like a game of telephone. You just kind of keep going. So one of my friends drew like a Lego guy. He has like a blocky head. Looked like a Lego. And so we all expected my other friend to guess it as a Lego. And he said Pipeman. And I fucking lost it. I don't know why it was so funny. I lost it for like a good hour. Like an actual hour just laughing at the same thing over and over again. So I just adopted it. And he kind of has like a weird face. I have the original photo and I can show you what it looks like. It's fucking hilarious. But I don't know why it was just so funny. I just kept it. And I'm like, okay, I'm Pipeman now.
And that's why you have like a Lego type avatar, right?
Yeah, I actually have an artist who helped me out making like my avatar and kind of stuff like that, and wrapped it around like the kind of the original is based off of that one, and she made it look like more professional, a lot better, because obviously it was done on Drawful, or draw by with your mouse. It was like shit. It was awful, but it was so fucking funny. So yeah, I got that. It was really nice.
Okay, I'm glad I got that story, because that was a bit confusing to me. What is a Pipeman, and why is this a Lego character, your avatar? Yeah, it all comes together perfectly now.
Yeah.
All right, but as the esport nerd that I am, when it comes to competitive Battlerite, I try to watch anything I can. I'm very interested in the PipeMan Invitaional. I'd like to talk a bit about that. You just had your 5th one, is that correct?
Yeah, the 5th one. Last Saturday.
All right, so what made you want to host a tournament?
So I don't remember what it was called, but SLS actually recently hosted a Battlerite tournament, and it was a Swiss bracket. And like, you know, I used Battlefy before, like doing a couple things, like signing up for other people's tournaments, and I was like, sure, whatever, like whatever. But then when I played in Battlerite's official one, I don't know why, but it sparked like the competitive interest in me of like, this is really good that they're doing this. This is good that they're making tournaments and keeping people around in the game. And I was like, wait, I could do that, right? I could do that. I just had to use Battlefy, right? So I kind of was like, you know what? I'm going to host my own tournaments. And I saw the only other person who was doing that was Catchy Tails, who was another NA player. And he was the one who was hosting a lot of the NA tournaments. And he was making more official with like Battlefy rules and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, well, if he can do it, I can do it. So then I just kind of like got a couple of my buds together, and we were just kind of like brainstorming and talking about how it would go. And when I hosted the first one, it was a shit show because like I didn't have anything organized, and like I didn't have a lot of stuff like really ready. But not a lot of people showed up, but a really decent amount did, and it kind of reminded me that people still have interest, excuse me, in the game competitively. And I was like, okay, well, I can channel that energy and keep these players around, and also I can learn off of like how they play and give back to the community that way. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll do another one. And I've just been doing them every other Saturday ever since. It's not even been that long. But the biggest main interest for me was like, okay, so everyone complains about, you know, there's not enough content in the game. Okay, great. We can wait for that to come out, right? Obviously, it's going to take its time. But these people still want to play the game, and they put in thousands of hours. Why not just make a competitive environment? Here's another one, you know? Here's one other option they can do to actually look forward to something and compete competitively and fulfill that like that void of just having not enough content. So that was like the biggest main, and I, you know, everyone's invited to join. It's not just high elo players. Everyone who's like, I'm a bronze 1. Yeah, get your ass in here, dude. Bring 3 of your bronze 1 friends. We're gonna kick your ass. It's gonna be fun. That's the whole point. Making people feel good about and getting their feet wet in a competitive environment, because not everyone's gonna be BPL because there isn't one. I think it's kind of just like filling that void.
Yeah, because when I watched the 5th one, there were still a lot of BPL players there, and actually some that were just straight up that BPL team. I think, let's see, Arcton, Stro, and Unimportant played together.
Yeah.
That's straight up a BPL team. I don't remember what they used to call themselves in Season 3, but
I don't remember either.
They played together for the entirety of BPL Season 3, so that was awesome. Have these BPL players been taking part in the Invitational since you started?
I think not the first one, but the second one they did. And that's when they were like really like dominating. Like, you know, it's kind of a meme right now that they just win every tournament and no one wants to play. I still feel like, you know, they are still players. They are still people who kind of like come in and they want to play the game. I'm not going to exclude anybody. But yeah, pretty much they've been playing almost since the beginning. I think only the first one because it was like kind of badly organized. But they were like, we don't know yet. And then they're like, okay, sure. But yeah, they've been playing since the beginning. You know, they're faithful leaders or members of the Invitational. I'm excited to have them every time.
I think that says a lot, like you said, about how much people enjoy the competitive side of Battlerite. Like the fact that we had BPL, we had one big international LAN, there was supposed to be another one, there was a big prize pool, it was streamed with a studio and all of that stuff, you know. Nice production value, stuff like that. And then when it goes away, these players still show up to something like this because they just want to play the game. We're not talking a $4,000 prize pool here, right?
Yeah,
which is what like they had each season in the BPL.
Yeah,
and still they say, yeah, let's go, let's bring the BPL team and we'll play because we want to play this game competitively.
I think that's super valid, and you know, even if they are better than most of the players that join my tournament, it still kind of gives everyone else who gets beat by a Yaya, you know, a chance to look at themselves and go like, hey, you know, maybe this is an opportunity for me to get better. You know, this team is doing so much better than me. What can I learn from them? You know, I think that kind of adds the second element of like when I was playing back in Season 1, I looked at the BPL teams. You know, I looked at Averse, Proster, and Bloom, and I looked at, you know, Jeter and like all those people who like been playing a BPL. I'm like, you know, I want to get as good as they are. And that was like what inspired me. And that what's the difference in that besides like just a community hosted tournament? That feeling still incites the same thing for other people that it did for me when I was watching BPL. So, I mean, that's kind of like the main goal is people want to continue playing the game because it's fun. Here's a competitive environment where you can kind of see the best of the best, and you still got a lot of work to do. Same here. I'm not the best of the best at all. And I still think every time I host these tournaments, these guys blow my fucking mind every time.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty much it, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I mean, that's like the same thing with any sport or any other competitive game. I mean, that's why esports is so big, and that's why we see developers want to have esports in their titles. That's why people want to put down 12 hours a day grinding League of Legends, because they see these players in the LCS and what they can do, because they watch challenger players on Twitch and what they can do. I mean,
100%.
You want to see that, and that's what drives you to want to become that good, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. It's exactly why I feel like I should keep playing this game.
Yeah,
exactly.
So aside from the BPL players joining the Invitational, how else has the tournament grown since your first one?
Since the first one, I think in terms of like Twitch inclusivity, in terms of like, you know, people watching the stream and like interacting and stuff, it's grown a lot. You know, when I did the first one, it was like 40, 50 viewers. I was like, wow, that's a lot for me, dude. Like I'm just a little guy streamer, right? And then as it kept on going, and it kept like, people kept giving me feedback, and they're like, hey, this is what we think we should do. And I'm like, okay, sure, that makes a lot of sense. We keep changing and moving along. Then it was like, holy shit, like everyone's here. And it kept happening every time. And I think since the first one, it's been like double what I've been doing consistently. Just like regular streaming. Like I get like, I think like 30 or so is my average, 30 or 40. And now it's jumped up when I do my invitational, almost 100. And it's like, holy shit, dude, that's sick. Like 100 people are watching this game that's considered dead, and they're like, people are still actively playing it and kind of giving hope back to the game. I think, and my Discord as well has popped off. Like I just had I went from like 60 to 130 people who are in the Discord, which is a lot for me because I'm just like one dude doing it all. I still have my mods and stuff and help out, but it's just crazy to think about. Like in a short time, it's like 2 months, 3 months that this has gone down, and I'm like, holy shit, man. Things are popping off. It's been a lot of really good growth, and I met a lot of really great people just from doing the Invitational and got a lot of experience hosting tournaments, managing that kind of stuff, getting all that stuff down. I think that's like really valuable, and I'm super excited to keep doing more of them. It's not gonna stop. Make me stop.
I'm not gonna make you. I don't want it to stop. So on that note, there's been a lot of talk about Battlerite not having the tournament system yet. That is like one of the biggest talking points when it comes to the lack of content in the game right now, is that we still don't have the tournament system. As someone who organizes a tournament and has seen like the good parts that can come from that, do you chime into this opinion that this game really needs the tournament system?
I do think 100% the tournament system would help out a lot. You know, even though I'm organizing through Battlefy, which is like a website that just helps do all the logistics of it, I think it would be really, really good to have a streamlined system in the game, because right now, you know, not a lot of people are playing, bar none, you know, compared to what it was. The people who are playing are heavily playing. They're playing because they want to get good, and they're playing because it's fun. And I think adding that extra layer of fun to competition kind of like doubles on itself. Like, not only are you implementing a tournament system for people who want to be competitive, you're implementing it for those people who are competitive, and they're on it. They want to do it all the time. They don't want to have to go to a third-party website and find a tournament I made randomly like a week ago. You know what I mean? They don't see it that way, and I think we're missing out on a big portion of the player base who want to be competitive but don't want to have to do all this crap. I have to click on this link, and I have to like, what? I have to sign up now? Like, I think if it was more streamlined and it was a lot easier and more user-friendly, then more people would consider being competitive in this game. I think it's 100% not necessary, but it would be a very large help to the existing player base.
And I think also when it comes to people organizing like you do, not just participating in tournaments, but organizing, like, I've played with the idea when the BPL was kind of announced to take a break, but I personally felt that, okay, so aside from all the things that I do in, just normal life stuff, I want to do this YouTube channel, I want to stream occasionally, I want to do other stuff, and then if I want to host a tournament, I also need to learn how Battlerite works and all of that stuff. It just becomes a lot of work around actually just hosting a tournament,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
That's definitely true.
Bet even if we have a tournament system in the game, that would still take some work, You have to find all the people, announce the dates, set up rules, formats, stuff like that. So
yeah, I think I see what you're saying with that. It's a little bit easier on the same end where it's like, you post a link, right? And anyone can share this link. So if their friends may not be your friend in game, they can still see it. What I projected they would be doing for a tournament system is if they would have like a queue or like maybe like a list, like here's a tournament list of what's going on, and people could just like click and like join. And that's kind of the same thing. It would make it a lot easier for me to manage it because I wouldn't have to create a link. I wouldn't have to go into Battlefield and set a lot of stuff up. I could just go into Battlerite, type all my stuff in, set the actual rules, and it would be forced. Yeah. It would be simpler for me as well. It would just be a well placed format for as an organizer, a well placed format, and it would be a lot more simple.
Yeah. I think, like you mentioned, there aren't that many people playing, so anything that just lowers the threshold for these kind of things to happen is a very welcome addition to the game. Another thing that you've been doing lately is you just started a podcast. It's called State of Balance, right?
Yes, PipeMan State of Balance.
Yeah. So, and as of recording this, you recently had your first episode live on Twitch.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a bit more about this podcast of yours.
So I'll kind of start from the beginning, and this was not long ago. This was maybe like 3 weeks ago. I was kind of mad because I'm not a very heavy Twitter user, and when I do use it, I just kind of look at Battlerite and see what's going on, and I just kind of like dump off. Bad on me. But when I looked on Battlerite on their Twitter, the first thing I saw was they posted like this meme, and it's like M1, M2, and space, and it's like basically was just kind of joking about Royale, like the drops, and they're just kind of like memeing. The first thing I saw a comment was, "How about you fix your fucking game?" And as a person who I have said a lot of these things, and I did take those positions in the past with SLS, and I'm like, yeah, why aren't they doing this? Like blah blah blah, giving them really harsh feedback and criticism. There actually, like, objectively there is no platform that Reddit or Battlerite is using that actually gives them real feedback, real criticism, not just bashing them or doomsaying. And I'm like, you know what? I can see things pretty clearly. I know that this is a business. Why don't I just go in and just be like, here's the objective truths. Let's talk about the objective truths and not be assholes about it. So I got a bunch of my friends, like I got Bloom, I got Meepers, I got Dexerian, and, I was talking to Jeremy Bearson and I was talking to Bocado, and I really wanted to, like, organize something. And, unfortunately, the first time go around, not a thing that, they were able to join. They were in the chat, and it was so exciting to hear that they were, taking part. But the whole podcast was literally about taking high-level players, and, we'll get to low-level players too, all perspectives of the game, what the game is, what's going on with it, what your opinion is about it, where could it do better, what's doing it really well. And I think that's going to give SLS like the actual avenue of like real criticism that they can take actual feedback from, because you go on Reddit or Twitter and it's just them shit posting like, haha lol, your game sucks. And it's like, that's not even criticism. Like, you're not even helping the developers when you've played 800 plus hours. Like, what do you expect them to take from that? Yeah. So I think what I'm doing is just making that avenue very clear. Here are high level players. Here's myself. Here's, a low level player. Here are our opinions. Here's real criticism about your game. Here's stuff that we think would be really smart. Let's get your opinions on it instead of just throwing hate at them nonstop. And that's just where it came from. And I think I've been working on it a little bit more and kind of like making it more formatted and like really like better visually, and kind of getting rid of chat because that was hilarious when the chat was popping off. But, I've been, talking with SLS, and, I really want to just keep it going because I think they also see this as a really great platform for them to, like, hey, these are the people we want to talk to because they're the ones who are actually giving us feedback. They're the ones who are giving us the criticism that the game needs. It's not about hurting SLS. It's about making the game better. Yeah. I think that's exactly what people haven't been doing. They've just been hurting SLS instead. And that's the exact reason for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know about you, but there are a couple of things that people tend to say in, like, the negative voices of the community tends to say that really rubs me the wrong way, and one of them is that SLS doesn't care about the game. You know, they've already moved on. They don't give a shit. And I'm gonna go out on a limb. What's that? Go out on a.
Yeah.
What? How do you say that?
Go out on a limb.
Limb, yeah, because on the lam is
Yeah.
when you run away from the cops, right?
Go on the limb.
I might have to do that later as well from the community. Okay, but go out on a limb and just guess that these guys who say that probably haven't interacted with many people from SLS. The vibe I get from the people I've talked to on SLS is definitely the opposite when it comes to caring about Battlerite.
I think with people who say, you know, SLS doesn't care about their game, it in all honesty, with what's coming out in the patch notes and what's coming out with the roadmaps and SLS's history, you know, they do deserve that criticism. You know, they are not immune to making mistakes, and they have made a lot. And I think what people do is they stack, kind of like they black pill it, where they're just like stacking all these mistakes on top of each other, and it's like, oh, because SLS doesn't care. And it's really easy to generalize that, but, you know, they did set themselves up that way. Now, I'm not offended when people say that, because it's like, you know, obviously they care about their game. Like, they spent years working on it. Their people are getting paid because of it. They care about their game. Like, they actually care. The only questionable part is just kind of like how they're caring about it. Are they caring about it in the right way? Like, I think they're putting their energy just in the wrong spot. You know what I mean? Like, they're not putting in the work that everyone else sees it. Like, they see the direct problem immediately. Here's it is in my face. And SLS is thinking about the business portion of it, and they're kind of hitting blind spots. And it's up to the community to really point out those blind spots and be like, hey, maybe here's where this is wrong. And they're like, oh, wait, what do you mean? And then they figure it out. You know what I mean? But I don't think people are exactly wrong when they say that SLS doesn't care. They do care. But I understand where that perspective comes from because of how SLS has kind of stacked their mistakes on top of each other and haven't really talked to the community and hasn't really been connecting us to reasons why. So I'm not offended when I hear that stuff. It's just unfortunate. It's just unlucky.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the thing that really kind of bothers me about that is it's not really that it offends me or anything. It's just that I feel like rather than saying, I think this should happen, I think this should happen, I think this should happen, like you're trying to do in the podcast, like pro players have done when they were invited to the SLS headquarters in connection with the BPL LAN in Season 1 and given actual feedback to the developers. There's a lot of this, it's a dead game, they don't care, we don't give a fuck. It's like people are more eager to just spam that shit rather than actually talk about what could make Battlerite better. And some people are so stuck on this notion that Battlerite is a dead game and that SLS doesn't care that they won't actually do the things that you and your friends are doing in actually trying to set up an, a line of communication that is very clear for the developers. We think this, we think that. This should change. This is good. This is bad. Exactly.
I think you're totally right when people are kind of stuck on that meme of SLS is garbage, right? It's obviously a meme. Go on Reddit. Look at any of their posts. Look at anyone talking about Reddit. Like half the threads are like Battlerite Royale, like barrel plays, which are trash. And then there's also like, oh, lol, SLS doesn't care about their game. Lol, it's just like one guy. Always one guy just reposting under different accounts or something. And it's like, you know, you're not really helping the game. Like, even
I'm not getting my merchandise correctly. Please help support. Why would you want a dead game hoodie? Like,
on, I read that one. I read that one.
I did
Super
too.
Unlucky. Super unlucky. You know, but it is like that. It is like that where people are in that mentality, and it kind of derives the wrong energy because you don't want to spread that energy. You don't want that. You want that stuff to be contained. You don't want people doomsaying your game and it being a meme. You know what I mean? I remember Battlerite posted a thing where their roadmap was updated, or like they had to push back a change. Like, oh, the tournament system's coming in December, and then they're like, oh, well, we can't push the tournament system out. We realize it's a bigger thing to chew on. We're gonna have to push it back. And then please refer all your hate mail to like this address, and it's like a joke. It's like an SLS hate box. And I'm like, you know, SLS, it's not really a good PR move to, you know, accept that your game is getting a lot of shit. Like, you should always kind of be on the air of like, yeah, we're getting shit, but we're still working on it. Instead of saying like, oh, direct all your hate mail to here. It's kind of like dismissive to people who have real criticism of like, oh, so even if I did get criticism, it's going to be seen as hate.
Yeah.
I think that's the wrong way to go about it from a public perspective, and from a business perspective. You have to really maintain and understand what's toxic, and kind of like don't admit it. Don't admit that it's all toxic.
Was that a worry when you set out to make this podcast where you actually talk about the state of the game, when you know that the game isn't in the best state right now? There is a lot of things to criticize. Were you kind of worried that you were going to open up the floodgates to like everyone just bashing on SLS rather than doing the thing that you intended it to be?
I think honestly, no, I wasn't even thinking about that, because I actually came from the intention of like, yo, everyone's got bullshit to spew. I'm not going to spew any bullshit. There's going to be rules. If you're going to talk on this podcast, cannot spew bullshit, right? So it's the same thing with chat. So I'm going to have changes made with chat so people don't like pop up on the screen saying that, oh, we're going to poop on your face, Bacata, or something awful. Something like that. I mean, it's in the range. You should see my chat. It's great. But I don't think when it comes to worrying about people like spewing or like opening the floodgates, people really want this stuff. Yeah. People really want to hear like feedback given to SLS from people who matter. And I'm not going to say that I matter a lot. I am an impact on the game because I stream the game and I'm mildly popular. So, you know, someone who should take that kind of power and be like, hey, let's talk to SLS, you know, let's open up those gates and talk to them about it. With the players, I've actually received a lot of positive comments. You know, people who I didn't even really talk to are like, hey dude, your podcast was sick. Like, thank you for doing that. I'm really appreciative. And, you know, I want this game to survive. And as much as people I think are spreading crap, like saying SLS is garbage, I think they genuinely do want the game to survive. And they actually see like a window of opportunity of me like, hey, SLS, let's talk about this stuff. Let's open this up. Here's what the players really want, because we're talking to the players right now. Here, we're going to spoon feed you guys what you want. And you want more player interaction. And we want more developer interaction. So people are like, oh shit, he's talking to SLS, dude. You see this? They're actually listening? What do you mean? And like, I think that's going to actually, instead of opening the floodgates, it's going to close off the gates to shittiness in a sense, as long as, you know, things go the way that I expect them to, in terms of, you know, if they actually listen and if they really do take it all to like where I think it's going to go after talking to them. I'm feeling really positive about it. It's all up to what they decide and what they kind of do. But I'm glad at least I'm able to talk to them and kind of open that door up for them.
Yeah.
Just honestly, yeah.
So we talked a bit about, you know, negative voices within the community, and I think to not give the sense that this community just overflowing with negativity, I think actually what this podcast does, and a lot of other content that is being made in Battlerite, as soon as something like this happens, I think a lot of people do come along and are like, yay, this is great, like you say. I think overall, Battlerite has a quite positive and very active community if it just has a forum for it, you know?
100%. Totally agree. When people are like, when you have positive people in your life and you surround yourself with them, it doubles on itself. And when you surround yourself with people who are toxic and, you know, you kind of attract those people, it doubles down on itself as well. You might think that there's a big echo chamber of just toxicity. And I think it's just because Battlerite right now has just a lot of just general toxic people who are, you know, taking steps to make the game suck. You know what I mean? But I think right now the community's in a pretty decent spot. You know, with people like, I'm not seeing as much flame going around. I'm not getting it as much. You know, I got the pro players who say I suck, but that's kind of like expected. But I don't really think that's like flame even. But right now the community, I think, is in a really decent spot. We're not in a place where it's like overflowing with toxicity like it was before. We're not in a place where it's like grandiose and everyone's a god gamer. We still have those problem children, but, you know, with every game has that balance. And I think right now we're in a pretty good state of balance.
Yeah. Ooh, nice. I see what you did there.
Who's this guy?
Yeah. So I thought, since your podcast is kind of dedicated to talking about the state of the game, if we just go over it real quick, how would you describe the state of the game right now?
The state of the game is very well balanced in terms of mechanics. I think the game has such a very large potential for esports. I think it could rival League of Legends. I think it could rival Dota because of the game play that it provides and the amount of competitive, like, actual skill depth that is required to play this game. is like no other game that I've played. What's lacking is content, just bar none. I think there's not enough cosmetics. There's not enough reason to play it. I think what comes with that is also, you know, you only have so many champs that you're good at. The meta's been pretty stale. They haven't really done any changes that really, really shake up the meta, make you go, oh shit, like maybe I can play this hero now. Maybe they're viable. They haven't done a lot of champ changes. They haven't done a lot of risky things in development. They're not taking enough risk. Where I think when I compare it to like League of Legends, they're changing it every 2 weeks, which is a little bit excessive. Not gonna lie, every 2 weeks is excessive. They shouldn't be doing it that much, but you know they're making those risks happen, and they're changing up their game all the time. And I think for Battlerite right now, what people really want is updates. They just want stuff. People just want something to happen with the game, not new maps, not new emotes. I mean, those are fucking hilarious when you're just spamming emotes when you're in Rygon ult. Hello. But you know, we want like content. We want like patches for champions, champion changes, champion overhauls. Maybe visual effects. I know that's a lot of work for visual effects, but a visual update, the UI update, just the way that the game feels is already good, but we need to make it so it's like, holy shit, this is a whole new game. I think right now that would bring back a lot of players, and as long as SLS keeps listening when those changes come about and kind of really dial in on the ones that really make sense, then you know the player base will only grow. But the only honest thing that it's lacking is content. Like more champions. We want more champions. We want more skins. We want more cosmetics. We don't want it to be easy to acquire just from a chest you got randomly from a Battlerite Royale. You win a game, you get a chest. Like it's a little bit too easy, dude. You can't.
Yeah, you made the comparison to League of Legends, and I think that's an interesting comparison to make. But it's the thing about League of Legends is the state that it is in now. What does it have? It has like 140, 50 champions or something like that.
Yeah, it's like 150.
And some of them were released ages ago. So it's kind of easier for them to just say, hey, we're bringing back this, like they did recently with Aatrox, right? I think, and just said, well, we're reworking the champion. They do that all the time. Rework. This is a new champion now. This is basically a new champion now. And it just changes a whole lot. And they can do so much. They can just say that, oh, now dragons are elemental. There's a lot of things you can do, and that just changes the game completely. What, dragons don't just generate gold? Nope, there are 5 dragons now. You know, stuff like that that they can do. Whereas in Battlerite, we don't have that many champions. The oldest champions aren't that old. I mean, they're getting kind of old now, like 2 years or something.
Yeah.
But still, like, what could Battlerite do to just whoop? This caused a monumental change into how we play the game.
One sec. So what they could do in the game that could change it, I think, you know, with League of Legends, they did a lot of really big overhauls, and they were, you know, things people didn't know that they wanted, and I think there was a lot of backlash. But I think for the health of the game, it made it a better game. You know, I think people can argue about RNG with the dragons. Yeah. You're right. There's RNG now. It's kind of unfun with a skill-based game, but it kind of adds to that element. And I think when I think of overhauls, I think about taking someone who is unviable. So if we're talking about highly competitive, high-level Battlerite, Iva is barely competitive. I think she is a support. Yeah, she has a shield. She has a tractor beam. A lot of stuff she can do. I think, but there are other ranged heroes that do really well in her role that could be done otherwise. The true state of balance that I wish it could be in is that every champion is viable in high level play. Kind of like the same thing with like Yasuo players in League of Legends. You know, you got Yasuo who's like, he's a high skill player, like champion, and you have to do well on him, period, or you lose. It's a meme. There are people who go 4-11 and they feed their whole game. And it's like, I wish Battlerite had that same like skill density of like, you have a really hard to play champ like Sirius. I wouldn't say he's like hard to play mechanically, but you know, you space counter, you die. you should die from that. But I think there should be a way to make him, you know, he has his faults and he has his like pitfalls, but he also has ways that he can shine in high level play that doesn't just mean he gets steamrolled the second he counters. Like people just literally all 3 of them space on Sirius when he counters and he dies. I don't know. I think there are a lot of things that I don't even have like ironed out, like written down things that I would change. But with the current state of balance, it's like, I don't know, dude. Like, it's all like, I'm gonna pick meta heroes like Jumong. Jumong is just so good all the time. Never is Jumong a bad pick. You can pick him with like Alicia, Paloma, for Jumong, and it's like, what do you mean? Where am I going? Might be bad because you have no melee, but you can still make it work.
Yeah.
Because he's just that good, and Paloma's just great anyway. I think they just need to do overhauls in the sense of like, kind of making the ones that aren't played very much and aren't very good in high level play, making them very good in high level play, and while still maintaining that flow and the feel of the character without making them feel like they're like the Rook patch.
Yeah.
Everyone had to play Rook to win.
Yeah, sure. But I think you're on to a point there, and like you said about League of Legends, they do stuff and people might not even know that they wanted it, but the developers were certain that this is a good change, so we're doing it, we're trying it. Like, I think SLS have done that from time to time. Like, one thing they did after listening to like the high level community, high elo players and pro players a lot, they said that 3v3 is now the official game mode, right? We're taking away 2v2 ranked and solo queue. It's gone. And a lot of people were like, what the fuck? No. Bad idea. But I think most people would agree after the dust having settled that that was a good change.
Absolutely. Oh, it was such a good change. Even me as like I got GC in season 2, and that was a 2v2 meta. You can just play 2v2 and not matter.
Yeah.
And then I got it again in season 4, and I think when I played in season 4 and got GC, I was able to really like understand the game as a whole. Like the game competitively is in 3v3, so having a 2v2 ranked queue and then being on the same ladder didn't make any sense, because it's like, well, where did your skill really lie? Are you even playing threes? Threes is what the game is currently balanced around, and even back then it was balanced around threes. So having a twos comp made comps like Rygon Blossom really busted, and like it was just so hard to play against them no matter what you played, unless you both played Rygon Blossom. And it was like, how am I supposed to have fun in a game, be competitive in a game, when my rank means nothing because I'm not playing threes, or playing in solo queue by the community means nothing because you might be playing twos, and it just kind of like destroys the integrity of the game. And I'm really glad they took that out, because even though people were like, oh, I'm not gonna play the game because I just played the game with my friend, like you can still queues too.
Yeah.
Like queues, you can still do that. That's a thing, but it's not on the solo queue ladder anymore because it's not solo queue twos. So I think that was a really good change. It helped the health of the game. It made people feel better about their rank. It made people feel like it was, when you achieved it, it meant more. And I think that's what's kind of missing right now in like solo queue in general. There's not really much reason, and I want there to be a reason, because I'm not playing solo queue either.
I am, but
I'm just like,
I'm of a dying breed, I guess. So, we mentioned this a bit earlier. We talked about your invitational, and you mentioned you think this game has a lot of potential when it comes to the esports side of things. I definitely agree there. No shockers there, right? But what would you say the future of the esports scene? How do you think that will be? Battlerite Esports.
Battlerite Esports. I think the only way Battlerite Esports will become a thing again is when the game's popping. Like, it has to be a popping game. It can't be like this, 2K players a month game. It has to kind of almost get to like half of League of Legends audience daily. I think once it becomes like that big, then they can actually be like, oh, we can actually afford to have people fly out for LAN, or we can actually make a pro scene and have people hire teams like Dignitas or CLG or like Cloud9. Like, they might be picking up on that because they see the potential in the game. Whereas right now, since there isn't a pro scene anymore, because Battlerite can't afford it because there's no one playing the game, it would have to get so large, and basically so large to a point where like, where is the esports scene? Where is it? Like, it's obvious at that point. Like, okay, well, we got all these people. You're all playing the game. Let's get the esports thing. Why isn't it there yet? It has to be a bar none decision at that point before any kind of esports stuff happens. I don't think in like the next year or 2 years esports will come back, because they have to like quadruple their player base like in a month, and then keep doing that every month to be able to really get an esports scene back in, just financially and for the health of the game. They have to do that first. And it all comes with time, and I honestly think right now it's in a good place to do that, as long as they, keep their word.
Yeah, well, I think for me, a reassuring thing about Battlerite is the thing that you said, like, the foundation is so good. Like, balance-wise, it's a great game. The concept is genius. Like, everyone who likes the game loves the game. Like when we talk about the foundation, and then the lack of content, that is stuff that kind of happens to people when they've stuck to the game for 6 months or something and feel like they need something more. But I feel like a lot of people who like the game, they absolutely fall in love with the game at first. But it's interesting what you just said there, because it opens up quite the dilemma. You said before as well, you think like watching like esports, watching tournaments, watching the highest level players, that's what makes me want to get in there. That's what makes me want to play the game, to try and become that great. Maybe spark the dream of me actually getting a threes team together and doing that myself. Do you think Battlerite can grow that much without having any sort of esports scene?
Well, right now, competitive games are doing really well because they have an esports scene. If you think about like Twitch, like Counter-Strike has been considered a dead game for so long because they barely update their game. Their patches come out super like 6 months a patch. Like that's a long time of the game. But it's still one of the most watched games on Twitch because of its skill ceiling. And it's like, I think that there's so much room to grow in Counter-Strike. That's why people watch it so much. And they also had a competitive scene for the longest time. It's been like, what is it, the most competitive, like the longest standing competitive game that's ever been popular? I don't even know how long, like Unreal Tournament or Doom or what, like, it's not even competitive, but is there another game besides Counter-Strike that actually has stayed competitive for this long? I think the long-standing history of Counter-Strike players, they still watch the game because they played it since they were 10. I played Counter-Strike when I was 10. I played 1.6, switched over to CS Source, and I played the Scouts and Knives for like 5 years. That's all I did. I played Counter-Strike for like 5 years, and then they came out with a patch that screwed everything.
Yeah, I mean,
CS:GO came out, and I was like, whatever.
Sure, if you count everything together, like Source 1.6 Global Offensive as one game, it probably is, right? And especially at that size. Mm-hmm. I don't know how it might have dipped before Global Offensive came in and made it like huge again. I don't remember, but like I don't know how dead StarCraft 2 is as an esport right now, but that's, if there is any sort of scene there, that is also like ancient in esport terms, right? But
I think
it's not at the
was
level.
Like the first one, right? That was the first one that became an esport. It was the first that was held with tournament, and it was the most hyped. I mean, besides like fighting games like Street Fighter, in terms of like PC play, I think StarCraft is like the first one, and then it kind of started to popularize esports. Like, oh shit, like this guy's playing StarCraft 2, he's got like 700 actions per minute. What the hell? Oh, there's a shooter game? I want to watch that. Mm-hmm. You know, like that kind of like, where's the next step from StarCraft to this? But I think with Battlerite, and what we were saying is that I think it's a little bit too early to say that there's going to be like, it's a really hard question, because I'm thinking about games like Counter-Strike, who have a really large history of people who've watched the game and played it themselves, and that's why they're interested. But right now, Battlerite is kind of like a dead game, and it would take a long time for people to be like, oh, Battlerite, yeah, I know that game. I played it once with my friend. It was kind of fun. I think once it becomes a household name like League of Legends or Counter-Strike, and people kind of know that to be one of the games that they could play as an alternative instead of it being this like niche, tiny boy fighter, then that's when I think, okay, that's when we can start saying, okay, maybe there should be an esport. I think having an esport in general helps the game grow because there's like a reason to play it, because there's teams. It's the same thing for watching college football. Yeah. People watch college football because they want to watch, you know, people like, it's fun. It's also lower level play, but it's like, it's kind of like the same reason. It gets people to view the game and to get more interacted with the people who play the game, and they follow those like people's careers through college all the way up into potentially the NFL, and that's kind of an interesting aspect of it.
Yeah.
I think it would definitely help. Bar none, it would help the game up tremendously if they had a viewership.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Battlerite is in an interesting time. Like the games you mentioned, they started popping off, and esports kind of evolved from that enormous player base that then became like the viewership of those games, right? Whereas now people launch games and they want to launch the esports scene as well. Like Overwatch comes out and they have already got Overwatch League planned out. Like when Blizzard makes Heroes of the Storm, they started the HGC, rest in peace, and you know, stuff like that. And Battlerite also wants an esports scene now to kind of promote the game. So it's going to be interesting to see. It's a different era than when League of Legends and Counter-Strike and Dota, StarCraft, all that happened.
Yeah, it'd be way different.
It's a tough nut to crack, I bet. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. So before I let you go here, you're probably gonna fire your stream up any second, I think.
Yeah, pretty much like right when I'm done, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. So before we end here, I was just wanted to ask. Let's say Battlerite sticks around for a couple of years and does well. What is your ambition in the game? Where would you like to see yourself as a Battlerite player in a couple of years?
As a Battlerite player,
Yep.
if things just kind of go towards my mental roadmap of SLS starts listening, they start implementing changes that everyone wants. Everyone has a really high expectation, and the expectations get met. People will start really hyping the game up. It kind of keeps on going. And then they bring back the pro scene like 2 years later. I would love to either be like a really big streamer for the game and like one of the people who kind of like really heavily promote the game, or be in like a pro team. I mean, you know, right now my skill level isn't where it needs to be, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, if I just consistently keep going and I keep promoting and like doing something with it, you know, I'm only bound for success.
Yeah.
And so is Battlerite, as long as people stick to the game. I think in the future, where I want it to be would either be, you know, working on video games just in general, like actually doing that as my job instead of being an inventory manager, or maybe even like just being a pro or like staying a streamer. Like, I think I'm really like trying not to put a lot of expectations on myself, but where I see it happening, as long as this goes like the way I think it's going to go with talking to SLS and opening up that door, is that might be a possibility. And I'm going to take every chance that I have to make sure that I put SLS on the best foot possible to get their game back to where we want it to be, to give everyone a better chance. And I think that's like, what else can anyone ask for?
Yeah. For your sake, for Battlerite's sake, I am rooting for you 100%. It was a pleasure talking to you, PipeMan. Thank you so much for joining me here. Where can people find you if they want to see more PipeMan after this?
If you want to follow me on Twitch, you can go to twitch.tv/PipeMan. I also have my Twitter, which is PipeMan150. And then I have my Discord, which you can find that if you go to my Twitch chat and you type !Discord, because it's a link. You can click that. You can join my Discord. We talk about all kinds of stuff. We talk about the tournament. We talk about the podcast. We talk about questions to SLS. You guys can always come in there and interact with me. I'm playing every day. I do work a lot, so I don't stream a lot. Mostly I stream from Friday through Monday. That might change to Thursday through Sunday. It'll be tentative, so you guys can figure that out. But I'm always streaming from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you guys want to come out, I'm playing Battlerite and maybe some other random horror games. I'll be there.
All right. Well, that's it then. Thank you for joining me, and to everyone watching, I'll see you next time.